welcome back. If you blinked during the Japanese Grand Prix, you missed Kimi Antonelli making history again. And talking about making history, this is our 5th or 6th show. Who's actually counting? In a row. Welcome back to Race in Review. My name is John and I'll be your host today. And I'm joined, of course, by the man, the myth, the legend, the man with the best hair in the business. And actually, he added some flair today. Welcome back, James. How are you doing?
Sorry, I didn't even realise we'd started when I said that. I was about to say, let's restart. Doing all right. How are you?
Let's restart. Why? Do you drive an Aston Martin?
No, I wish I did. Maybe not a Formula 1 Aston Martin, but one that doesn't have a Honda engine in it. Yeah, why not? I'd love to.
Yeah, or without, at least there's one that's half electric with the current gas prices.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Says the man who drives. I'm just saying it, not to boast, but just saying you drive an AMG Mercedes, so there's that as well.
Yeah, it's not the best on fuel consumption. So, yeah, I'm not enjoying the current state of the world and fuel prices, but here we are.
Here we are. It still looks shiny though, so you do that well. Also joining us, of course, is the man. He's wearing blue today, but he supports the orange ones. He's back. It's none other than Graham Homer. Welcome back, Graham.
Thanks for having me back on. I've got my orange underneath. It's a bit cold, so
we don't have to see what's underneath really tonight. Yeah, right. No, it's all right.
Family show. I'll keep everything on.
Exactly. I'm not even wearing a hat today. You even got a fresh haircut. We might have to change your nickname, James, soon enough.
No, that's fine. No.
Welcome back, guys. Oh, we usually start this show talking about previous driven Grand Prix and doing a 1 minute summary. I can take 5 weeks for this summary, though. But that will be a long podcast.
No, please don't. Yeah, try and keep it to a minute.
I'll try to do it in a minute. Okay. So like I said, if you blinked during the Japanese Grand Prix, you missed probably Kimi Antonelli making history again. This weekend started out with the Mercedes locking out the front row, but it nearly went south faster than a Haas in a gravel trap. Antonelli had a shocker of a start, dropping from pole to P6, but then the Formula 1 god smiled on him a safety car, thanks to a massive shunt from Bearman, who's fine, don't worry, played right into the kid's hands. While George Russell was busy complaining on the radio about luck and strategy, while he actually called to say the pit stop himself, Kimi just went grazie mille and drove off into the sunset, and he's now the youngest ever championship leader at just 19 years old. Talking about the rest of us feel unproductive. Oscar Piastri finally remembered he's actually quite good, and the car actually started, so he snagged a P2 for McLaren's first podium of the year, while Charles Leclerc held off a frustrated Russell to take P3. And Max Verstappen, well, he finished P8. Again, yes, P8. At this rate, he'll be streaming FIFA full-time by summertime. Mercedes is miles ahead. Ferrari is, getting there. Red Bull is currently searching for the missing pace in the back of the garage. And next up is Miami in 5 weeks. So let's see if Kimi can keep the crown on if the Florida heat will finally melt the Mercedes dominance. Guys, so much info, so much to be done. Let's start with James. James,
yeah.
What do you think about this weekend? Just generally speaking, I got 10 topics here, which I could just toss in. You guys could discuss. But what has been your highlight or your one moment? Let's take that. What was your one moment of this Grand Prix?
One moment. If it had to just be one moment, it was probably Lewis and Leclerc again fighting very close, side by side through turn 1 and 2. That was very exciting to see again. In general, I thought it was a good Suzuka Grand Prix. We got more overtaking than we normally do there. It was another example of the regulations, for me at least, for the most part, working. We've seen some flaws now, which we're going to cover in depth, I guess. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a really good Grand Prix weekend. Qualifying was a little bit more exciting than it had been in the past this season, and yeah, the race was good.
As Charles summarized it, he said, Lewis almost pushed his nose into my ear.
Yeah.
It was that close.
It was, yeah.
Now I can only see the memes coming up soon enough. So let's not go.
I think Charles said that they probably did touch as well again.
Yeah, it's going to end up
He
badly
did ask on the
somewhere.
radio, do I have a puncture from that? So
It'll end up going south somewhere down the line, I'm pretty sure. But for now, it does make for some good excitement racing.
Yeah.
Graham, your one moment of this weekend.
The McLaren's actually started. Both of them.
Hey! It happened. Well, actually, I asked last week how many cars will start. Can't be 22, can it? Can I just say they all started?
Mm-hmm.
First time ever I've seen a 22 car grid in my life on Formula One.
It's been a long time coming.
22, James?
Yeah, we've had 22 cars before.
It's been a long time, but can't say it's lifetime that long.
Black and white. Okay, you guys been there still, yeah.
It's not even that long.
You're older than me.
It's getting pretty easy to like lure you guys into one of these stories.
Yeah, when we had like 2 Lotus teams and a Marussia team, like.
Well, to be fair, the Marussia sometimes didn't even qualify.
That's true. Well, yeah. we've had 22 car grids semi recently.
I am stealing Graham's thunder here, though. Graham, how does it feel? Your team actually starting a race?
It's actually nice to have both drivers and actually 2 cars on the grid and starting and actually performing decently. So it's nice for once.
It was close though, because Lando went through his whole year of parts in like 3 free practices.
Yeah, just Mercedes parts don't seem to be that great because Russell's went through a few parts as well. Can't say I've noticed any sort of reports on Kimi having any issues either, but while they might be the most dominant team, and the parts seem to be a bit finicky, shall we say?
It doesn't matter. I remember Bottas and Lewis taking engines and penalties just to keep it fun. So I don't think it will matter much in the end. But.
No.
And they won't be the only ones actually struggling with keeping the spare parts intact either. So, but yeah, it definitely is noticeable that they are going through a lot of parts. And I do think Lando was really unlucky because I think he almost missed full FP1. He missed a part of FP2, FP3 the same. Almost nicked it in qualifying because of it. In the end, all worked out, but it was kind of excited. He didn't have the most track time this weekend.
No, it was very limited through, obviously, reasons not of his own making. So, frustrating, but then on the other side, like I said, we missed them last weekend. No, not last weekend, but China. And then, obviously, we didn't have Oscar in Australia. So, just having both of them running, both of them top 10, it's been good. Can't complain.
Then don't, because I will do the complaining today. No. I will actually. My moment of this race was Max Verstappen being overtaken by Gasly again because he ran out of battery after the chicane. We saw very much the limitations of this system, James, if I do say so. People overtaking at the end of the lap with the remaining battery, recharge at the line, and then the other one could just JoJo back. So we had a JoJo fight. And actually, on Max radio, he said, I have to try the last lap, else it's useless. So you can only have one attempt at it. Max was clearly faster than Gasly. Like if you see the lap time, so he just couldn't pass him. And I think the moment Max passed him and he took the battery again and overtook Max, and Max waving to Gasly, like bye-bye, was like with 300 kilometers an hour waving to the one passing you by, was my highlight of sarcasm in this weekend. Combined with Lando and him joking after the race that it's just a JoJo game, that it's whoever has the most battery at the straight and be behind someone else will probably win it at the end. I think that was a clear one this weekend. You can overtake in turn 1 on the outside, someone did, but then they can take you back on the straight. If you overtake someone before the chicane, they take you back at the start of the straight. We didn't see any other overtakes than those, and I think that was a little bit frustrating for me. But the way from Max was pretty much my moment.
Yeah, I mean, we saw 1 or 2 overtakes into the hairpin after going under the bridge, and we did see a couple of overtakes going into Spoon, maybe not at the top end, and where the speed differential between the leading cars is certainly, when they're close together, it's not as obvious the speed differences. So I still think it was fine, and I thought it added an element of tactics, which was still really no different to DRS, if not better, because we still did get some overtakes. But Mercedes, like that happened very early on in the race. Mercedes caught, I think, a McLaren out and a Ferrari out by making an overtake, not using their battery, into that last chicane, and then using the battery power coming out of that last chicane in the final corner, making the overtake down the start-finish straight. And then after that, it's very hard for somebody to make a comeback move, because you have to kind of settle into the lap and go through the S's. There's only one line through there. And yeah, it did quickly become evident that making a pass in that final chicane was not the way to make a pass, because they just get you back on the straight. So you had to try and make the pass on the straight instead. I still thought it was exciting.
Which is fine if you're a Mercedes or a Ferrari, but any other car couldn't do it.
No, well, the other cars need to improve. That's all there is to it, I think. I don't want to quote Christian Horner because I don't like him, but it's all the same. Everyone's got the same rules, so yeah.
But basically, if you had a Mercedes power engine, you couldn't be overtaken on the straight this weekend.
Yeah,
unless it was not a Mercedes, and that was like and if you passed anywhere else, which these rules do allow for, then the same regulations made sure it didn't matter, because then it just take you on the straight again. So. And so did Gates for. I saw a statistic much more overtakes than ever before. This will happen in Monaco as well. It doesn't make it any more interesting because it's just an overtake, and it will be basically where we didn't have any overtakes before, we now have 2, but the end result is still the same cars in front.
Yeah, but that's always going to be the case, isn't it? Even if it was DRS. I mean, DRS. The thing I like about these rules is that DRS was basically impossible for them to balance on any circuit.
Yes. We all agree there. Don't get me wrong. I think we all agree there.
So I like the fact that the battery element and the overtake button is providing opportunities in different parts of the lap to make these overtakes. Maybe it wasn't working there specifically because one of the good overtaking spots, which was going into the chicane, happened to be followed by the start-finish line and the fresh batteries, or the fresh battery allocation.
Well, and the other one that's chasing does have to boost up that power as well.
Well, they do, yeah.
And that makes the difference, making it impossible to defend.
But the other element to this is, like you just said about, Mercedes have clearly got a strong engine, they've got a strong battery system, everything about a Mercedes PU is probably stronger than most of the others, certainly stronger than basically everyone other than Ferrari, I would say, and even then they're still better than Ferrari. But it's also the third race of these new set of regulations. It's like, this is what I keep thinking back to. That was disappointing, and I can understand from your point of view that it'd be frustrating as a Max fan, because you're seeing...
And not necessarily a Max fan. We saw Russell having the same thing, but he was the only one who could do it. And then we had Kimi having the same thing, but he could do it as well. But then we had Lewis trying it, useless. Then we had Gasly trying it, useless. We had Bearman trying it before his accident, useless against an Alpine even.
And I think we're always going to have this at certain tracks. Suzuka has never been a strong overtaking circuit, has it?
It used to be a good qualifying track. Hey.
Yeah. Well, I still think qualifying is going to improve eventually. I think there are some tweaks now that they do need to make to the rules. We're probably going to start talking about that shortly. But yeah, I think overall, if you think about, first year of the regulations, third race of the season, I personally thought it was a more interesting race than Suzuka's been in a long time, even when it became evident that overtaking into the final chicane was probably going to lead to you being re-overtaken going into the first corner. And that wasn't always the case. I mean, Lando eventually got past Lewis, and...
Well, Lewis had a battery issue, right? Lewis drove 30 kilometers an hour slower on the straight than Leclerc did there. So then it does get a little bit easier as well if you do have that McLaren or Mercedes power engine. So I mean, if he loses 10% of his power. There.
Yeah, I agree, but everyone's had the same amount of time and the same rules to build to, and Mercedes happen to have built the best engine so far, and that's just the way it is. It's never going to be completely even unless we go down the route of it being a spec series, which probably that's going to be. So I think with time, the margins are going to close, and that discrepancy is not going to remain there for certainly for multiple seasons.
I'll tell you why I found this a boring race. Not necessarily. Like let's be honest, and I also said this in the start of the race that last year. I don't expect Red Bull powertrains to be any good anytime soon. That car is more than 20 kilos overweight or something, Graham? How much did they say?
I think it is 20 to 30 kilos.
So that's like 1.4 or to 6 seconds even on weight alone. That's just too slow. So that's not going to go anywhere. So I'm not even starting the race hoping for a result from Max because it is physically just impossible to get anywhere close to the top 6, right? But that's not my issue. My issue has been qualifying is really poor to watch, right? Like it's not edge wide. You see the guys breaking down before, like really shifting back before corners just to make sure you go. All these corners, Albon said it best. All these corners are medium speed corners. There's no fast speed corners anymore because why would you go fast to the corner? Because you'll lose it out on the straight anyways if you don't have battery left. Which I think going fast to corners is like the reason Formula One's cars are cool to watch. So I think there's that. But that nothing to do with Max, but that looks poor, I think. FIA, I saw a lot of complaints about the Pirelli tires not overheating or wearing down, right? I just want to say, it's not Pirelli's fault. The FIA gives them an assignment to make these tires this way. I think they made them this way. They go in with harder of the softs in this track. What are you expecting? Anything else than one stop? We could have seen this on Friday morning. That it will just be one stop. The softs won't be used during a race. Doesn't make any sense. It's just harsh. Any outliers are the ones that start P22 and might want to risk a safety car. But even then, the difference is so low between softs and medium that still everyone will go for the medium. So we also have that. And that's not going to change anytime soon either because these cars are built for these tires as well. But it's not a Pirelli fault. I just want to say that. I've seen a lot of heat this weekend. Never is this the manufacturer's fault. Even saw someone asking, can we get Bridgestone back? They'll still make the same tires if the FIA tells them to make these tires. So there was a lot of frustration for me. But my biggest frustration is that there doesn't seem to be one single driver that's actually enjoying themselves out there. We saw, I have a list. We saw Alonso complaining. Also, congratulations on the kid, Alonso. We saw Alonso complaining, not because he's 22nd or 21st driving, but he's not having fun driving the car. The car is not on the limit. We saw both Williams drivers complain seriously. Again, they are doing poorly, sure. But we have a car that has a battery on top of the car. A Duracell battery, but actually having a worse battery than ever. But just saying Duracell might not be your best partnership. but they were both complaining that it's just not fun to drive. Albon gave the medium corner speed remark, for example, and Sainz says it's getting dangerous, and we'll talk about that more in a second. We can make a whole list. Leclerc said qualifying is his BS, and although racing can be fun with his teammate, there's actually not much going on currently. It's not really exciting to do. Sure, the Mercedes drivers aren't really complaining, although even George started complaining now, which is also very likely for George to do once he isn't getting the performances out of it usually. And that didn't take long for him to go back to that mode. But I think that is why did people enjoy Max driving the Nürburgring? Yeah, he won, but also got disqualified, sure. But you can see a driver on their peak performances having fun, like doing everything in there. You can feel the happiness of someone driving like that, right? Why do we enjoy watching karts racing? Because people are enjoying it, giving the maximum getting out of it. These drivers all are driving, with all due respect, on like 50%, and especially on 50% happiness. And I think that's just Formula One unworthy. And I don't see potential to change anytime soon, even though the racing can still be good. Don't get me wrong, James, because I do see what you're saying, right? It might change down the line. It might be a little bit better. But we'll still have 50% battery, 50% ice. They could at least make it 60-40, all right? To make it a little bit more drivability, more on the edge than it currently is. And I think it just feels unreal having the best drivers in the world. That's my bottom line. It feels unreal having the best drivers in the world complain about doing their job.
Yeah. I think, touching on the tyre subject, the problem with the tyres, like you said, it's not Pirelli. That's something that is specified by the series. These are the specification of tyres that the series needs. Pirelli goes out and makes them. I think the problem is that what you just mentioned, and that is that because they're not going around the corners flat out as they normally would, they're not wearing the tyres down the way they normally would, because they're not pushing them to the limit the way that they have done previously. So where they might go to a circuit saying we need hard tyres, or the harder, like 3 tyres of the range for this circuit, that's not the case with Formula One under these current regulations. So yeah, taking the spec of tyres that they did to Japan didn't work, and there's a lesson for the FIA to learn there. Whether they do or not is yet to be seen, because they often don't learn lessons, do they? So we'll see. But when it comes to the 50-50 thing, I don't think we're going to see any changes to the specification now. Like I just don't see how we can go back. We've got Cadillac spending money building an engine that they're expecting to bring in 2028, 2029, whichever year it is. All of these manufacturers have put all this time, effort, R&D, money into building the engines that they have built now. The reliability stuff that you touched on, like, Lando's gone through most of his allocation in 3 races. I think the problem there is that we've come into a new set of regulations, but we've kept the old reliability regulations on top of that, where if you look at 2014...
And the budget cap.
Yeah, and the budget cap. But we didn't have the 3 or 4 or whatever number of engine limit that we have now in 2014. That's something that's slowly reduced. What was it, 2018 or 2019, where they reduced it by 1 engine, and then another year they reduced it by another engine, all to try and bring down costs and make the engine
basically do 3 now a year, right? So.
Yeah, so some of these changes have happened since the last major engine refresh, and they've kept that sort of set of regulations in, and it's going to become a problem, because I don't think any one team is going to not go through their allocation and more. How they fix it is maybe they put a cap on, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, put a cap on how the energy is deployed, maybe reduce the amount that can, how much is put into the wheels, so that your deployment depletes slower, meaning that you can potentially keep your battery power there all the way through a straight or a lap. Now, that's obviously going to reduce top speeds, it's going to reduce acceleration, but it might allow them to go flat out through corners, and it might prevent some of these issues with speed differentials between a car that's harvesting and a car that's boosting. Ultimately, it's for people far more intelligent when it comes to this sort of stuff than me to decide, but they have got to do something, because Formula One drivers driving a race car around a track whilst not really being on the limit is not really Formula. Well,
Max got out of the car and says, "Are you tired?" He said, "I don't think I'll get ever tired in these cars."
Yeah, I was going to say it's not Formula One. It isn't, because Formula One, they are always managing something, and they are never driving, other than qualifying, they are not driving flat out.
No, but managing tires, always, like I said, every single racing car manages the tires.
Yeah. And
just a reminder, that's the only thing they don't have to do this year, even. It's managing the
tires. That's the other thing, yeah. So they don't need to manage the tires. So. Yeah. They've got to change something, yeah.
Graham, I saw you brooding there and thinking about, I got a solution here.
Solution is what James says. I think the the qualify.
See? Two smart men on the show.
They reduced. I know they reduced it slightly by 1 megajoule, but I think that they're going to have to change the battery solution, like what power output you get and everything else. That's the only way they can do it, because, like James said, you can't go back. That too much money, there's been too much time's been invested in these engines. I still think it should have been more gradual. So I think this set of maybe 2 or 3 years could have been in a 70-30 split. Then after the 2 or 3 years, you reduce the split to maybe 60-40. Then you get 50-50. I think this jump into a 50-50 is just too much, too quick. So, like James says, the only way you can really resolve this now is how the harvesting and how the deployment is fulfilled. So they're just going to have to. There's 5 weeks. There's maybe plenty of discussions going ahead now. So something's got to change. Like you said, every driver's unhappy. And you can say, yeah, Max is in the middle, Albons are up the back, but even the guys at the front are complaining. So it is. I'm enjoying the races more this year. Qualifying was a bit better in Japan this year. Having the McLarens there, obviously Oscar was causing some issues for the Mercedes and the Ferraris. I don't think I expected him to be up as close as he was at times.
I think he was lucky it was in Suzuka, though. If he did have more overtaking opportunities, I don't think. Well, but nevertheless, good to see. Don't get me wrong.
But I do feel that sometimes the fun element is a little bit. Everybody says it's artificial, because it is just, are they overtaking because they have the power and everything else, or are they overtaking because other guys holding off and it's a game of Russian roulette or chicken, effectively, like who goes first? But it's just a weird one. It's like you said about Max and Gasly, and just rewatching the video today, JP talking to Max saying, you're going faster than Piastri, Russell, Kimi, Hamilton, you're faster than Gasly ahead of you. And he's like, yeah, but your man ahead of me is still fast. He's like, I can't catch up with him. He's like, but everything, JP's like, everything's on the screens telling me you're going fast. And he's like, yeah, it's all right. It's easy for you sitting behind the wall. But
if Max can't overtake someone, well, he's clearly fast. At one time, Max had the fastest lap.
Yeah, so... Yeah.
But he can't pass him because of the batteries.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm enjoying the overtaking. I'm enjoying so much of it, but then it is that other hand of me that's like... It's just that artificial bit where it's like these guys are, like I said, Max was going faster, like Lando was going faster than everybody at a certain point and just couldn't pass anybody. And it's just like, if these guys are the fastest and they can't get beyond, like, there is clearly an issue. But then, like I said, I'm a bit hypocritically, I'm enjoying the cat and mouse element of the overtakes that we're getting. So yeah, I don't think there is a simple solution, to be honest. Like I said, I think gradual increase in the hybrid engines would have been the best shout, but while we're here, that we just got to enjoy what we've got. And like we said before, 3 races into new regulations, it's going to suck a little bit. There's going to be things where we're not happy and everything else, and then we're going to get to a point, hopefully, probably it's going to be later this season, given that we don't have 2 races. There's 2 full weekends we're going to lose on all that telemetry, all that data that teams could have worked on. So you've got to hope by the end of the season, towards Las Vegas and everything, everybody's going to start having good... The gap and things is going to reduce a little bit. Teams like McLaren, do you mean?
The thing is more like, let's hop into Bearman's accident, James, for a sec, because I think that's a crucial factor which might make a difference. And Albon, Max, Sainz, they all said, we're lucky he isn't hurt, but we're also might be very lucky it actually happened, because now we can say it's a safety concern we're dealing with, which we've been warning for a long time now, but nobody took it serious. And I'm not going to be that guy, right? But, actually, I might just do it. In 94, we had a similar situation where everyone said this is people will get hurt. And on the Saturday, we got someone dying. We got on Sunday, Senna died. I don't want to be that guy. That's when FIA actually changed that, when 2 drivers died in one weekend. And of course, we saw with Bearman, these cars got much safer, and there's an enormous impact. And he got out with a bruised knee, which, 5 weeks probably will heal, so nothing too bad there. But this is scary, though. It feels like we're waiting for literally an accident to happen, James. But it also feels I'm screaming in a void here.
Yeah, I think first of all we've got to look at the safety of these cars now and just and praise how much Formula One has moved, even in 10 years, never mind 20 or 30 years. The cars
doesn't mean you have to take more risks.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm getting to that. Trust me. Like, we can't rely entirely on the cockpit and the effective cocoon that these drivers are in,
and the fact that you have a run-off in Japan.
Yeah, like we've got to look at things that can happen and try and prevent them if they're going to be dangerous. And I think, we've hinted at it a couple of times, and now you just brought it up. This speed differential thing is a massive problem. Suzuka really is the sort of circuit where you wouldn't. Okay, there's quite a few corners, quite quick corners, but there's not too many completely blind corners at a track like Suzuka, and we still had an issue like this with Bearman. Now imagine if this had happened, like you said earlier on, if this had happened at Jeddah.
Well, Las Vegas is another track where there's a lot of blind corners. But the problem is, luckily is, in Japan, Bearman could steer left into the gravel, which made for an enormous impact, but he could steer away from it. In Las Vegas, in Jeddah, in Monaco, not only are these corners blind, but there's also nowhere to go.
Yeah, you'd just be into a wall and the back of the other car because there's no gap. Like the only reason Bearman went onto the grass was because Colapinto was, he was taking his line, even though his line or his speed was so slow compared to Bearman that,
we saw one lap later. We saw Lewis almost driving into George because George had a slight issue there with the recharge as well.
That's how Leclerc got past George.
Oh, sorry, Leclerc.
Well.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, so Leclerc got past George in the exact same spot because of the super clipping, which Toto mentioned later on that was the team's fault. He said, like, his wording was something along the lines of, we gave Russell super clipping by accident or something along those lines. Like they'd obviously made some sort of config or software change to how the deployment and the regeneration was working, because we know they're doing that throughout the race, and they're constantly tweaking and working on the deployment. And they said that they just made a mistake and giving him super clip in there, and that could have been the exact same accident again as what we saw with Bearman and Colapinto, but with Leclerc and Russell. So something needs to change. But yeah, that accident, potentially a slight blessing. The fact that Bearman's walked away with a bit of a limp and a bad knee, it looked initially like he had an ankle problem.
Yeah.
But, he seemed to be grasping at that when he got out of the car. But he got out of the car by himself. That's always a good sign. And obviously there's adrenaline pumping, so that can mask certain things. And it's when that dies away that you can really see whether a driver's injured or not. And he did look like he was in pain.
That's what I have during these podcasts. I can sit normally and talk with a straight face. And after the adrenaline's gone, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry, you shouldn't laugh.
I'd like to keep it professional at least during the podcast, John. Where I was going to go with that. It's just...
We're just lucky there.
We are lucky,
honest, right?
but because that has happened, because when you were talking about, like, we've just been discussing needing for change, and how does that change happen? Like, it doesn't matter unless all the teams agree to it, because one team could veto a change and then we're stuffed, aren't we? That's the Concord Agreement. So, safety
concerns is FIA
exactly
rules, right?
So now that this has happened, and I think that's probably what science is hinting at, and because it's happened, and the way science has said, like maybe it's a good thing it did happen. I think that's why, because now the FIA can overrule and say this is a safety concern. We just had a massive shunt that could have been way more serious than a bruised knee. 50G impact. Hopefully that allows change to happen without it having to go through the teams, because we've discussed this God knows how many times on this podcast, and everybody knows it. The teams aren't interested in the sport or the spectacle; they're interested in themselves. Even above their own drivers, they're interested in themselves. I mean, we saw that with the porpoising and stuff in previous years, where they were not so fussed about the state of drivers on some teams. Like,
well, remember Lewis stepping out of his car saying his back hurts, and and that was the reason why the FIA changed the ride height on the cars.
Yeah,
we still don't know if that was real or not. But health, safety is still the way to force a change here. I think in this situation, we had a clear example that it actually was very risky to do. We saw Lewis in the first race going on the main straight, and Colapinto being in front of him, driving 60 kilometers slower as well. Just nearly missed him. So,
yeah, I mean, the drivers can apply as much pressure as they want, but ultimately, unless it is a proper safety concern, they don't really have a lot of influence, unfortunately. So, yeah, this accident, hopefully that pushes some change. We've got 5 weeks until the next race, so maybe we know that they're going to be having some meetings, the teams and the FIA. Hopefully something comes of it.
Yeah, viewership is also down apparently, especially during qualifying. Canal Plus reported that they have a 43% drop-off on the Japanese Grand Prix compared to last year.
That's for qualifying, or was that for
the race?
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot. What? That's just one race, of course. I don't know any number, but it was on the actual X account of Canal Plus. They tweeted out it was 43% less. So that's a lot.
Which country are they broadcasting for? France. Okay.
Which is usually a big motorsport country. So
yeah.
So that's the word. Talk about applying pressure, Graham. Is Max Verstappen applying pressure on FIA to change things? Is Max Verstappen applying pressure on Red Bull to change things? Or is Max Verstappen just done with Formula
1? I'd probably say he's more done with F1 than applying pressure on anybody. Just hard, bringing it back slightly to the whole Bearman thing. Andrea Stella told everybody at the start of the season this was a huge risk of the closing speeds. We had Fred Vasseur said about the starts of the races being a big issue.
I said it as well, but no one's listening here.
The start of the season, and it takes silly things to happen. Like, who was it that was near clipped at the start of the first race? And was it Colapinto that got nearly knocked?
Avoided an accident,
on Liam Lawson. And then they were like, and then obviously they're like, oh, the blue lights and everything else. So I don't think they really care for pressure. That said, Andrea Stella said at the start of the season quite a few times that we were running the risk of a bad accident happening, and obviously Bearman's the example of it. So I think after Northland and the upcoming 24 hours in Northland, I think Max, for just enjoyment levels, I think he might just say, done with F1 for a couple of years until this is all sorted, and go enjoy GT, maybe go to do 24 Le Mans and VEC.
Max doing a Kimi here?
Why not? If you're not
going away for 2-3 years, you come back and then...
Why not? If you're not enjoying it, go and enjoy. Life's too short. Go and enjoy something. If the regulations don't suit you, if they're just not fun, then go and find enjoyment elsewhere. He's that good of a driver that he could probably take a few years out, come back, still get a decent seat and do well. So, if anything, I think only Mercedes could keep Max in F1 at the moment.
Or Ferrari, maybe.
I was just going to say, do we think Max would leave if he got an opportunity to drive the Mercedes? Yeah. I don't think he would.
I think he would. Personally, I think if Mercedes gave him a seat, I think he would go.
I think Mercedes.
Max, I think he would go to Mercedes, yeah. I really think.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. I mean, I don't think if he was offered, like he's threatening to leave, I think if he was offered a Mercedes seat, he would take that and he wouldn't leave.
Yeah, definitely. But if there's no, if Mercedes, I think that's it. Mercedes is the only team that could keep him now. If that doesn't come, I think he's away to GT2. He's doing the Nürburgring. I think he goes and does 24-hour Le Mans and does other things.
Here's a couple of things though. I think he can't go to Mercedes because Mercedes doesn't have a world endurance racing car. So he won't be able to do the Le Mans with Mercedes. He will be able to do a Le Mans with a certain red car. So I can see that.
Who did Alonso do Le Mans with?
Toyota, I'm thinking. But
that predated Aston Martin, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Who was he driving for at the time?
Was he driving?
No, which team was he driving for?
No, was he actually driving Formula One at that time?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Actually, yeah.
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, I love Alonso, but
I forgot he retired.
He took a break as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be really. No, but I think there's a couple of things going on. I think Max is applying pressure on his team for sure. We know the drivability of the V-Carb is usually a little bit easier. It's like the stepping car for a Formula One seat, so it's probably easy to drive. But the fact he had to fight his way through two V-Carbs, I think, is doing his head in. I think the power issue, the power unit itself, he actually knew that. I don't think that's necessarily something he walks away from. But he's also just not enjoying racing in this car because he's not on the edge. He said he was actually bored from the race, not necessarily because he mind, like he's been driven in P8 before, P10, P12, you know. And of course, if you're world championship, if you're world class driver, you want to win. But he knew, I think, damn well that there's no chance he would be winning at the first year with this power unit for him. But he said, I'm very frustrated by the fact we've all been saying this as a driver and we don't get taken seriously. But the FIA, we've seen all the things that happened. I said we would have super clipping, said we won't make top speed at Monza, etc., etc. And it still just gets pushed through, which means we make the money for the sport, but then we're not being taken seriously. And I think that is, of course, something he's really annoyed by. So I think it's also a statement at the FIA saying, like, hey, world champion drivers are saying this out loud, that they just want to go, that they don't care about the sport anymore. I think that's just a bad sign in general speaking. We've seen Alonso saying it. And we've seen Lando saying it, who's now a world champion as well. I think that's just that bad press. I mean, they can ignore all they want, but that just shows poorly to the sport, right?
It does show poorly. Like Lando says that they're being ignored because fans are enjoying it, but then
are they 43% less?
Well, that's literally what I was going to say, was just that if you're saying Canal Plus are saying there's a drop and fans aren't enjoying it, so the FIA or obviously or F1 or Liberty Media, whoever it is that's saying to these drivers, oh, the fans are enjoying this is more fun. There's obviously something misconstrued somewhere, because they're telling the drivers this is fun, the fans are loving it. Drivers are saying, well, we're not, and then you've got a distributor of the rights saying, well, actually, we're the fans aren't watching it. So you never know. Maybe a happy mixture of fans not watching, distributors being unhappy, because sponsors will start obviously either pulling it or paying less.
Well, Duracell was one of the example I just made. From that sponsorship is pretty unlucky this year. Yeah,
but I'm saying, but Canal Plus, they're paying so much money on the basis that they'll get that back from sponsorships. If they're losing viewers, then they will not be able to get the same money.
Yeah.
So,
but don't forget though that Apple bought all the TV rights in America as well, in the US. So that's a lot of money, and that's also because there's another US team coming into the sports, right? And that one did force any of these changes in, because else they couldn't be able to participate. So there's a lot of politics going behind all these statements. And I don't see Max leaving the sports this year at all. He might retire next year, though. You never know. But either he's aiming for a new seat, and I'm thinking Ferrari could be like the most obtainable seat for him. Also because his team might have a big win of it, right? And I don't doubt for like Mercedes could take him as well, because everyone says Mercedes has 2 drivers, they don't need him. But the moment Max goes to Mercedes and says, "Can I get a seat?" George is out. I think without a doubt. There's
100%.
George can drive all he wants. He could be. There's like Max makes his money back within a day, just like Lewis did for Ferrari, right? You just want one of them, and I think this is something I think James is aiming for as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, James, by the way. But if these rule changes, if these things set in, they get figured out, and cars get closer together, then the drivers like Max are actually getting you the world championship instead of only having a power engine. And we've seen that at the last year of the last regulations and the last year of the Mercedes dominance regulations, that if cars get close, drivers will make a massive difference. And I don't necessarily think George's would be that driver either. So,
yeah, that's always going to be the case in Formula One, but it is also always the case in Formula One that it's not just down to the driver. It is a team sport, and the team's got to deliver a car to the drivers. So, yeah, I think if things close up,
if they lose 20 kilos on car, then that car isn't actually that bad. I think even so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the power unit is 100% the issue. I mean, unless it's the power unit that is where all the weight is as far as the weight limit goes. And even then, if they can find ways to reduce weight, not lose reliability, then yeah, I think they clearly have a solid car. Like it's not slow. It's not the fastest car on the grid, but no one car ever is for multiple seasons in a row, is it? You know, like Red Bull have had multiple eras where they've been the fastest car. Mercedes are having another era where they are. We've seen Ferrari in the past where they are. Like it always sort of cycles, and you know, McLaren as well. It's hard to believe it, but like Williams are still one of the top 3 teams for podiums in the sport, and look where they are right now. And I'm sure at some point in the future they will become, you know, a fast team again, and probably have a comeback story a bit like McLaren did after their Honda days. So yeah, when it's close, driver makes a difference, but ultimately it is a team sport. So I think just looking at the drivers is not always the right way to look at Formula One, really.
This one really hurt.
Both of you are right to certain degrees. It's one of the things where both arguments overlap, and they both, to a degree, are true. Do you mean?
You're so political. You should be a team principal. Aston Martin apparently is looking for one.
Yeah, well, so's Audi.
So's Audi, because Binotto ain't coming. I can make a podcast about that one. But.
Alpine technically still looking for one, so if they know what send offers, I'll happily look them over. It's one
22 free tickets and I'm in.
Yeah, it's one of the things where both statements are true. That it's not solely down to the best driver, because you could have the best driver and not be in the best car, like Max last year, and he could still claw back. Where likewise, Lando and Oscar, really good drivers, but are they arguably the best drivers? But McLaren as a team as a whole just had everything nailed down. So it's one of the things, it's a bit of both. I really take both sides and say I can't really argue against either of you, to be honest.
We saw last year that a Red Bull didn't have the car to actually beat a McLaren, but I do think because of Max, it actually got close.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
yeah,
I think
so.
That when they get close, they will gap a distance. But I've seen plenty of memes this weekend that Max is washed, or that he can't get a car up in P8 anymore because he could have driven record up the pole. He drives the car to the limit, I think, and this is the limit of the car.
I think the problem there is not Max, it's Red Bull, and it's people like Helmut Marko a few years ago saying, you know, Max could win in a Haas and stuff like that.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
People like to have the opportunity to say, you were wrong, I told you so.
Yeah.
Because Max wouldn't have won.
I get that a lot lately.
Max wouldn't have won in a Haas, and he's not winning in a Red Bull now because they're not cars that can win. And it's like I said, it's a team sport. It's not just down to the driver. If we wanted it to be just down to the driver, it'd have to be a spec series, and Formula One.
And even those, yeah. I mean, I saw someone saying GT3 is just like their cars are all equal. They aren't equal, right? They get more weight attached to them, for example.
Yeah, well, they balance them, don't they?
They balance, but still, the balance is also political, right? There's not this. They balance it, yes, but it's not like they're all perfectly balanced all the time in the same. So,
well, no, they never can be, because different cars. It's the same in Formula One. Different cars have different characteristics that suit different circuits. So you might have a series of circuits where, for example, a Mercedes does really well, and then they'll be like, right, we need to balance out the Mercedes a bit, and then
the Ferrari wins 2 in a row.
And it ends up looking like they've done too much one way or the other for a team, because really it's not it. That's supposed to be the beauty of motorsport. It's like a car that is the best car with the best driver, suitable for the most amount of tracks, and that's what they're building for. Like, yeah, there'll be circuits where they just say, right, we understand we are not going to do very well at this circuit, but we can compromise on one circuit to be good at 5 circuits, and that's motorsport. Like, you can't have a car be the best car at every circuit unless it's, well, I mean, I suppose we sort of had that with Red Bull winning all but one race, but they still had their bogey track, and they didn't win that one race. So
go Sainz.
Yeah.
We could talk about this all night, and I actually have 7 more statements prepared for tonight, but we're not going to make that. We'll be, having no Grand Prix for the next 5 weeks. We'll be on a slightly different schedule next week because of Easter. But we will attempt to bring out shows. I think we're going to keep some of these topics to discuss in these shows. It might be shorter shows. We'll see. One has to do with certain team principles being there. One has to do with Aston Martin. How come suddenly the shivers are gone? The tremors are gone? Eh? I want to talk about the Golden Boy treatment. Is Mercedes actually sabotaging George, as rumors in the paddock say? Who knows? And I want to talk about Miami later on as well. Is that actually a track worth seeing with or without this regulation? Isn't that just part of the show instead of part of the race? And I want to know what you guys are doing in 5 weeks without F1. But if you are listening to the show or watching, I would urge you to check out the MotoGP past weekend. Did you see the crash, James?
Was this
after the finish line? Yes, that one maybe.
I don't think I saw that one.
Did a wheelie just to celebrate the victory. Locked the wheel and just tumbled over.
That happens in MotoGP sometimes, motorcycle racing in general sometimes. Yeah.
Did you see the Porsche Cup before the race? Because there was a reason the race started a little bit later on Sunday.
No, I didn't. I didn't catch the rerun of that yet.
No. So that Porsche went. Did you see it, Graham?
No, I didn't see it. No.
Check it out. Suzuka Porsche Cup crash. That car just tumbled all the way into the grandstands. But not into the grandstand. It was wedged between the barriers and the stands. So it was extremely lucky. Drive is unhurt. Actually, it's just fine. But that was a massive crash, which caused all the barriers to be broken and had to be replaced before the Formula One race actually started. And that's why the race had to be started 10 minutes later than it usually does. And big compliments to the Japanese crew there, because I think on every other track we race at, this would take at least like 30 to 45 minutes to fix. It was an amazing team effort there. And glad everyone's all right. But there were a lot of big crashes this weekend in motorsport in general. And which go for the safety as well, because it's really, it's actually amazing. I talked about 94, where we had, of course, 2 drivers die in one weekend. That's not, it's long ago, if you actually start to think about it. But it's, in 30 years, there's been so massive safety measures. It's been so much better in the last 30 years. And even like you said, James, in the last 10 years, because you can now watch crashes and know everyone got out just safe and enjoy the spectacle of a crash, if I can say so. without actually feeling horrendously scared that someone has a massive injury. Of course, it still does happen and still part of racing. But like, be honest, 15 years ago, Bearman having a crash like this, 50G on the side, wouldn't probably see a replay, I'm afraid. So
Yeah. He might have survived, but I don't think he'd have got away with just a bruised knee. I mean, look at
Schumacher broke his leg doing his legs for doing
Schumacher broke his leg. We saw Kubica's massive BMW. It wasn't BMW, wasn't it, when he crashed at Canada and just ripped the front of the car off? You could see his feet hanging out. Stuff like that. Luckily, we don't really see that anymore, which is a testament to really everyone involved in sort of improving the safety and standards of motorsport. But like we were saying earlier, we can't leave everything to chance just because they have a safer cockpit now.
Exactly. And if you do want to see funny crashes, then definitely check out MotoGP, because some of these are just, these guys have broken everything I think they can break as well. But the funny part is, if it does happen in a racing incident, I'm like, oof. If it happens after the finish of the main straight, I was like, that's actually sort of funny. Sorry. But go check it out. It's probably in every replay you can find of MotoGP this weekend.
Yeah.
And I don't even watch MotoGP that often, but just my luck, I suppose. So we'll be back next week. If you like the show, let us know by leaving a thumbs up on the YouTube channel. Leave us a subscribe on the YouTube channel, or give us a comment and a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify or Spotify. And if you want to help us tremendously, do all of those and drop us a comment on Spotify. Because on Spotify, we'll see those comments pushed by Spotify towards us instantly, which makes it also easy for us to give you a reply or a thumbs up. Also, sorry for all the Argentina fans for all the hate James and Graham gave Colapinto in the last couple of weeks. This week, he couldn't do anything wrong. So.
Excuse me, I am a Colapinto fan. I will not take that. I like him.
I think we all like him. But someone said last week something about his driving style. Oh, it could be me, actually. Oh, well, I have to watch that one back. Go check it out on YouTube, then you can say who it was. Thanks for that one, James. Throwing me under the bus like that.
You tried to throw me under the bus.
Oh, I'm the host.
Yeah, okay.
I can sometimes do that. And I can say it was part of the show. James. Graham, thank you so much, my friend. See you next week. James, see you next week. Enjoy your Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. And James, what are you going to put on the thumbnail? Max Verstappen waving, Alonso crossing the finish line, Kimi Antonelli getting a second victory. What do you reckon?
Half a Haas, probably.
Half a Haas, made by James. See you next week, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right.